You're listening to Reignite, a podcast where people can safely obsess over a 10-year-old video game. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And we have a special guest here today.
Yes, a guest who frequents on other podcasts I do as well, actually. He's one of my go-to guests because I adore him whether he likes it or not. The incredible magician and podcaster and gamer, Mr. Nelson Lugo.
You forgot lovable curmudgeon.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Accurate.
Yes.
You may know him from the Epic Podcast, which he does with Schaefer the Dark Lord. You may know him from his variety of magic shows, because you've staged 2 of them now, right?
2 of them that I talk about, yes.
The 2 of them that you talk about, fair enough.
I know him from that time that he hammered a nail into his face at the Quidditch World Cup.
That's true. That was a long time ago.
Holy bejeebus!
That's when you still
That was 6 lifetimes ago.
That's when you still worked with that guy nobody likes anymore.
I'm sure he likes himself just fine.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, that's actually the first time I saw you perform also, and I then got acquainted.
Really?
Yeah, and then the same that night.
That's so weird.
Schaefer performed in Brooklyn at Littlefield with MC Frontalot, and I met Schaefer for the first time that same day.
Are you shitting me?
No, it's Kismet. It's pretty funny.
I thought you were a Schaefer fan long before we knew each other.
No, around the time when I met you is when I became a Schaefer fan as well.
Fuck. I barely remember meeting you there.
Yeah. I don't think we actually met at the Quidditch World Cup.
No?
You guys might have spoken after that.
Yeah, I think
I'm probably conflating some dates then.
Yeah.
Probably. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Jesus.
And none of our memories have held up
over
the years.
Shit, I don't speak to any of those people anymore. Wow. Okay.
But I always remember fondly back when the first and second games came out, we were friends and we talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think the third one was the first one where we were both mutually excited. I'd known you already when the third one came out, I believe. And we talked about it.
Was it that long? Was that long after?
I think so. I don't remember that timeline. I mean, I know the first one came out. The third one came out 10 years ago, right? Or is the first one came out?
The first one came out.
The first one came out 10 years ago.
Like 11 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe it was Mass Effect 2 when
yes.
we were sort of
we
were both squealing about.
Because Mass Effect 2 was out around the time that you and I started dating.
Oh, that's right.
And then shortly after we started dating is when you met Nelson.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
So, when we started discussing having guests on, you were one of the first ones in my mind, because I remember talking to you pretty regularly about video games, and specifically the Mass Effect series.
Yeah. Oh, God, yes. yes. I love the Mass Effect series so much.
Yeah, I think that I can't think of a game, me personally, and I don't know if you agree, Nelson, that I've sunk more time into because I've played it through so many times.
You know, I was actually in the shower thinking about that this morning, and I was trying to think of another game. And I think it's Mass Effect 1. I think Mass Effect 1 is the game that I spent the most time in, played the most times, and tried to get every iteration of dialogue I could find. Except for, maybe Mass Effect 2 and 3 probably come real close.
Right.
Maybe Dragon Age is in there somewhere as well. But yeah, I think Mass Effect 1 is the one that I have gone back to the most. So...
And you've been a fan of all of BioWare's games, because I've heard you talk about Dragon Age, especially the new one on the PS4 and those games.
Yeah, well, admittedly, I only know Dragon Age and Mass Effect. I don't really know anything else they've done.
Oh, okay.
Because I came into gaming. Well, I had a gaming system when I was a little boy. I had a ColecoVision. I played Donkey Kong for millions of years. And
don't do the math, listeners.
Yeah, don't do the math. And then there was a long, protracted period where I didn't have anything. Mm-hmm. And then I found myself as a young adult living on my own. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to play video games. And so I bought an Xbox 360. And one of the games that I bought was Mass Effect, because it had just come out.
And so did you purchase it just based on word of mouth, hearing about it online? Did someone recommend it?
I think I was watching G4 at the time, back when G4 mattered.
Yeah.
God, and Attack of the Show was the preeminent.
It was. That and X-Play.
I'm having some severe flashbacks.
I know, right? And so I was already watching this stuff and thinking, and I think, when was it? BioShock was being touted as the new hotness, right? And so I decided it's time I found out what these video games are doing. And so I went out and I got the Xbox that had the Need for Speed bundle, which I never played. And I think it's been a long time, but I think of the games I purchased, Mass Effect was one of them. And I think I toyed around with a couple of the other ones, but then the second I put that disc into the game system, That was no going back. I don't think it came out for like 6 months, to be honest.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Like I think I burned a hole in that disc from the laser reading it all those years.
Mass Effect is one of the 2 games I've had to replace on my 360 when I still had it. It was that and Rock Band. I played them both so much that I ruined the discs. I literally ruined the discs and had to replace them on the cheap. It was
Yeah, I remember when my Xbox Red Ringed, there was a Mass Effect disc in there.
Oh,
Oh, could you not get it out?
No. So I took it, and mine had Red Ringed pretty late because I thought, I beat, I was one of the lucky few. I got one that was safe, and then mine Red Ringed long after like everybody else's had done. So I took it in, like, can you repair this? And the guy just fucking laughed at me. And I said, well, can you get the disc out? He's like, I can't do it without destroying it. And I said, well, fuck it. I'm not going to pay you to destroy it. So I went home. So I went home and I basically took pliers to it to get my disc out. And I finally got the disc out and then ended up buying a new 360. And that was it, basically. And then it went right back in.
The new system. It lived there.
It lived there. And it's still there to this day. And so, yeah, and I was playing it. I hadn't played it. Oh God, I hadn't played it since the Mass Effect 3 sort of like launch date was announced.
Right.
And so I got it in my head that I wanted to create my perfect narrative. So I went right back to Mass Effect 1, played it 3 times because you have to fucking level up to 60. Well, I had to anyway.
Right.
So you have to play it 3 times and make sure you get your exact story narrative, like all of the choices that I wanted, all of the love interests that I wanted, all of the companion stuff that I wanted, and then moved right into Mass Effect 2 and did that 3 times because I wanted the perfect outcome for each of those games so that when it got time for Mass Effect 3, starting off, I wanted that storyline to continue. So yeah, I don't think I had played Mass Effect 1 since I finished Mass Effect 3, basically.
And so you went back to it recently to play again.
Yeah, because because you guys invited me here. First of all, thank you for inviting me here.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. And so yeah, this past week I've been playing it on and off. And the thing is, like, I just don't have the time I used to have to play video games as much as I did. Like, I can't just sink 8 hours a day into a game anymore. I just can't. I don't have the time. So I popped it in last weekend and I've been playing it in fits and starts. And I'm like 3/4 of the way into Pharos. Haven't done Novaria yet, but basically, so I picked up Liara and now I'm on to...
interesting choice.
Yeah. Why?
We did Novaria, then Pharos.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
I think...
I think it makes sense to go like, well, now we have Liara, who can give us insight into Benezia, and that just kind of naturally goes that way.
That makes the most sense. There's actually a way where you can finish Pharos and Novaria and then get Liara.
My friend Lydia sent me a video of this. Liara is like delirious by the time you go get her. Yeah,
that, and also like she has all of this exposition and everybody on the crew is like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, we already...
we know that. Oh, you don't... Well, then, do you know this? Yeah, no, we know that too. Yeah. It's actually really funny, but I didn't play it that way. One day I will, maybe.
It's always interesting to me, the paths people take in the first game especially, because they don't really hold your hand much. They hold your hand a lot more in the second and definitely the third. But in the first game, it's kind of like, here are a bunch of missions, go do the thing. Like, until you get to the Reapers attacking, or Sovereign attacking, there's not like a straight line to run. It's pretty kind of open.
It's very branching.
When we in one of our previous episodes, we talked about all the DLC and side quests, and like I did maybe 1/3 of the side quests that MJ did because I've played the game so many times. I'm like, I know what to do, and I don't have to look for anything. And then I skipped a ton of stuff.
I did all the things.
Because I
did all the things too.
Because I forgot that Mass Effect 1 doesn't like say, hey, like it's not on the map. You have to go here to do this tiny side quest. You have to go searching the planets.
That and also, like, it doesn't tell you there's things there.
Yeah.
So unless you're actively looking for them, you may not even find them. Like, there are systems in Mass Effect 1 where you never need to go there.
No.
Like, there's never a main story quest there, and so there's no need to go there. So if you don't go there, you'll never know that there's a hidden fucking pirate base there that you need to clean out, right?
Yeah.
So... So yeah, I think it's pretty wonderful. Also, in playing it, oh boy, it is clunky as fuck.
Yeah. Oh yes, we talked about that quite a bit. The controls did not age well, and I actually played it on the PC. Which what I didn't know, and I've done research since, all of the PC versions of Mass Effect, which is now what I'll be playing through, doesn't have controller support. It's only keyboard and mouse.
Well, that fucking sucks.
It does, but I found, at least in the first game, it's much easier to be a biotic because the space bar, so you're using the WASD to move, and the space bar pulls up that menu that places the game. It's more intuitive on a keyboard. Whereas on, like, the Xbox, it's the shoulder button, and then you have to aim, and then, like, use the analog stick to select the power you want. On the PC, you can just click with the mouse, pull up the bar, click with the mouse, aim the camera with the mouse. So
That's fair.
It's a little more intuitive, but I am bummed that there's no controller support. There have been mods to include controller support, but there's no native controller support on the PC.
I guess I can't really speak to that. I'm not a PC gamer, but man, let me tell you, the pause and play action of... Because I'd never... Up until that point, like, I hadn't really played a whole lot of video games and no PC games whatsoever. So, like, the concept of pause and play blew my ever-loving mind. What is... I can stop. I can aim. I can issue commands. I can tell this guy to fucking, like, hit him with a sabotage and then hit him with a dampening from the other one, and, like, that happens?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I found that the pause and play wasn't the problem. For me, it was always the controls and the aiming. Like, gunplay is not good.
The aiming is not good. Mm-hmm. The controls are clunky, and the stick to cover is... it works, but sweet Jeebus, in the heat of the moment, it just... It's not the easiest thing. It's like... And the thing is, I never remember thinking of this when I was playing it the first time around. I don't know if you guys did.
No, definitely not in the early days.
But let me tell you, it was coming back to it after having played so many of the other sort of cover-based shooters.
Yeah.
Man, it is...
The focus was the narrative for sure on that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, it's sort of like... It's like an old car, right? Like, you have to learn how to drive that car. Because that car has a specific... Like, it pushes to the left a little bit. and like, it doesn't quite... the gear doesn't quite engage. And so there's a special little thing you have to do to get it to... So, like, you have to learn the limits of the mechanics. And once you become an expert in the limitation of the mechanics, then that game fucking flies.
Yeah.
God, I love it. Wow.
Just having a moment.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm just having a moment because it's also like Mass Effect and Dragon Age 2, oddly enough. I was playing in my...
You're speaking in different language.
Am I?
Dragon Age 2 is so much better than Origins or Inquisition, and I don't fucking care who disagrees. Come at me.
You're all right. You're okay to be wrong. That's fine. That's your right.
Dragon Age 2 is the best, in my opinion.
Sure it is. In your limited worldview. Why not?
Look, I hated Origins. Well, I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. And it took me 4 times to actually get through it.
Oh, man. That's not good.
Because I would start it, and then I'd be like, meh. And then I go back, and I'd be like, eh. And I try again. And, like, I want to love it. And there are things that I do like.
I think Dragon Age is also... You have to become an expert in its quirky mechanics.
Uh-huh.
It's another old car.
Before it starts to fly for you. Yeah. It's another one of those.
And I still haven't finished Inquisition.
Yeah, I didn't finish Inquisition either.
I love Inquisition.
I think the problem for
Sweet
me...
Sweet Jeebus, I love Inquisition.
I think the problem for me with the Dragon Age series as a whole is I like fantasy, but I'll always like sci-fi more. And if the story doesn't grab me in Dragon Age, which a lot of them are slow burns to get running with the main story.
Oh my god, yes.
That I just don't stay invested. Whereas Mass Effect, for the most part, after that first mission, you're like, what the hell is going on? I want to know more about this thing, and who's that guy, and why did he die? Like, it ramps up really quick, all of the Mass Effect games, and sci-fi tends to, well...
If you're new to the series, getting off the Citadel...
yeah, that's true.
...is... You don't know that you need to get off the Citadel as fast as fucking possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you could spend 5 hours in the Citadel before you even do any fucking inspector shit you've been given, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So... Let me tell you, when I first played it, man, I felt so stuck on the fucking Citadel. Like I couldn't go anywhere until I realized, oh wait, I can leave anytime I want? I don't have to do this quest? Fuck, I spent so much time on the Citadel.
Were you trying to scan all the keepers?
Yes. I was trying to scan all the keepers. I was trying to meet all the people, like check out all the shops, like do the stuff with the consort, like all like fucking fetch quests every goddamn turn. And there's, except for like the initial fight at Korra's Den and the fight at the medical office, there's nothing there, really. Yeah. It's just conversation after conversation after conversation.
Yeah.
So, knowing what I know now, like the second I'm a fucking Spectre, I'm like, peace!
Goodbye.
Out of here! Because the story doesn't get going until you start exploring planets, basically.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Man, but it's... And I would have, as a new player, I would have liked a little hand-holding.
Yeah, no.
A little bit in the beginning, just a little bit.
And I think that's why they started doing a little more guidance in 2.
Yeah.
Because the nice thing about 2 is when you have a mission in a system, there's like a little label that tells you there's a mission here.
Yeah.
And I like that because then I know, okay, I have been here or I have not been here yet, and I don't have to keep jumping into a system and ask myself, have I visited this planet yet?
That's another thing. Like, you don't know what you've done or not done.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you.
In terms of planetary exploration.
I have notes. I wrote things down.
Now.
Well, I think it's also, it was important to do that in 2 because I think it was also important not only what you did, but in what order you did it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because all of that sort of like the algorithm checks a box, and at the end of the damn game, somebody dies or doesn't die because you picked up a coin on some random planet, right?
Yeah.
So, which I say this to say that I think 2 is probably my favorite Mass Effect game of the trilogy.
That tends to be the
case.
Yeah.
3 is my second favorite.
Yeah.
Because I'm not part of that pool that hates 3 at all. I think 3 is an incredible game with a middling ending.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that my argument always when people want to complain about the ending sucking is I go, the third game is the ending. The whole third game is the ending to that series. The whole third game is the ending to that series. Everything you've done pays off. Yeah. So there was never going to be a final cutscene that was satisfying to people.
No.
There was never going to be. It just wasn't going to happen.
My only disagreement is like they painted themselves into a corner when they killed Shepard. Because there's nowhere to go after that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, they can't revisit that world. They can't continue any more stories from there. They can do a prequel, but that seems... Yeah. I don't know.
Did you play Andromeda? Because I haven't. MJ has. And in this scope of this podcast, I will play it for the first time.
I actually really like Andromeda.
Thank you.
You are the only other person I've met to say that besides MJ.
I actually really like it. It's not a great game.
It's not perfect by any means.
Yeah, it's not a great game. It has some serious flaws. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about BioWare games, which I'm not. This is not a big fucking reveal. Ignore the side quests.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of the, except for maybe Mass Effect 1. I think the side quests in Mass Effect 1 matter more than in any other BioWare game. And maybe Mass Effect 2, but I don't really count the companion missions as side quests.
Yeah, they're not side quests.
They're not really side quests.
But even those side quests gives you something. It gives you a resource or a combat readiness or like you upgrade it gives you something. In Andromeda, the side quests don't give you anything except maybe
that
XP.
We know of, yeah.
Yeah. If they make another game.
If they make another game, maybe it will be influential, but at this point we don't really see
but the thing is, like, you can't make the payoff to the mindless grinding down the future.
No, of course, yeah.
You can't do that.
Because then no one wants to do it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Now, is it... Should you do it? Yes, I think you should do it because you end up grinding, right?
Right.
You get your character up. You can allocate your points how you want, and you can fine-tune your character the way you want to play it. Don't bother with the profile systems because it doesn't.
Don't spoil too much for Matt because I want him going in. Like,
well, this isn't spoilery. This is stuff you can get in a Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
But like the great thing about Andromeda is that in Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, you're kind of locked into a class.
Right.
Right. Which I think is great because there's so much you can do given the limitations. Right.
Right.
So you're trying to figure out the most creative ways of getting the task done given the tools that you have. In Andromeda, they open it all up for you. So you can have anything you want at any time by creating these profiles.
Interesting.
Right? However, I don't think it works. I think it's a great idea. I just don't think it works because I found the way I like to play, and that's just the way I played the whole game. Like I didn't feel like I needed to switch a profile.
I tested out a couple of things to find out like what I liked best.
Yeah.
But I tend to go Vanguard-y no matter what.
Yeah, I tend to go engineer no matter what.
Well, I think it's tough with a game with classes when you do that, because there are Final Fantasy games that have done that too, where they kind of give you the freedom to not really have a class, and then you still pick the one thing you like from other games and hone in on that thing.
Right.
And I think if a lot of modern MMOs and a lot of modern RPGs try and do that, they're like, here's the freedom to do anything, and then you kind of go, well, if I can do anything, I'm still going to do this one thing that I always do. Like, that was my problem with Skyrim. It's like, you could do anything you want.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to carry a giant sword and be defensive and offensive.
I'm going to sneak up on people and just stab them.
And I'm going to find the most mechanical, roundabout way to kill people without lifting a finger. But I think I really enjoyed Andromeda. The key to Andromeda is don't do any of the side quests. Okay. Like, do some of them, because I think some of them are kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think you get some great character interactions with them.
But the thing is that there's just so many.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
So many side quests. It's like the flags in Assassin's Creed. Oh. There's so many fucking flags that you have to collect. And it just gets to a point, it's like, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore.
Yeah, why am I collecting this thing? Why am I doing that?
Exactly.
Mission?
And so I think it's good to do some of them because of the XP and the leveling up. But
there is a slight benefit without spoiling anything for Matt.
Mm-hmm.
If you do certain side quests on certain planets, it makes the planet more viable, and that is something that you want.
Okay.
So it does increase a percentage that you can look at.
Okay. I guess
you get a benefit.
I don't really think of those as side quests. I guess I consider those more like whatever story quest and side quest, whatever that middle thing is.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Like there are some side quests that do benefit you.
Yeah.
So it's just like things that you can find in a corner of the map, and that will bring the percentage up if your percentage isn't at 100 yet.
Yes.
I will say the one thing that I'm looking forward to when we do cover Andromeda on the show is like, I never played it. So it came out at the same time as Breath of the Wild did, and I just got my Switch, and it was like, greatest Zelda game everyone's saying ever came out, or Mass Effect game everybody hates. The choice wasn't that hard. Like, I just got my Switch, so I bought the Zelda game, and then I never went backwards, because everyone I knew hated it. But now I'm at a point...
I never hated it.
Well, everyone that I was talking to at the time and all of the game reviewers didn't like it. But now I'm at a point where it's like, I love the original trilogy. I would love something new that I've not experienced before. And so I doubt I will hate Andromeda as much as other people will.
I think you're going to find a character and you're going to fall in love with that character. And you're just going to be like, I love him so much.
Yeah. I don't think they should have called it Mass Effect.
You think it should have been a different...
I think they should have called it Andromeda.
But it be in the Mass Effect universe?
No.
Oh, you think it should have been a separate sci-fi game?
I think it should have been a separate game because it doesn't... To me, and I'm going to say this in probably as non-spoiler as possible, there's nothing about this game that benefits from being in the Mass Effect universe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing about the Mass Effect universe that you need to know in order for this game to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They could have easily changed out different races.
Right. They could have palette swapped different alien races. Yeah. Still made it human. Yeah. Still made it that they traveled that far.
Yeah.
Everything else could have been the same. Just take out the Mass Effectiness of it. And it would have done better. People would have.
Well, because there's no expectation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still think it has the same faults that everybody lays against it.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think anybody would have been as harsh.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. There are definitely games that tank because of their reputation.
And let me tell you, as far as combat's concerned, they finally perfected it.
Yeah.
It is.
Combat is so good.
It is polished to a razor's edge. It is responsive. It is fast. It is kinetic. Things happen the second you want them to happen. And the combo detonations that you can start doing with your party members stack. So, man, you can take down huge enemies really fucking fast. Once you start leveling up and start understanding how each power works with each other, it really is kind of fucking fun.
And I think they finally found their groove with weapons, because in Mass Effect 1, there's like all these different weapons and you can put upgrades on them as you please. And then in Mass Effect 2, you only get a set number of weapons, and those are the weapons. You can't do anything to them. And then 3, they got a little bit better. And I think in Andromeda, they found a nice balance where you can create weapons and you can add augments to them, and you can customize them.
They added crafting, fantasy crafting to a sci-fi thing.
Actually, shifting back the conversation to Mass Effect 1, I wanted to ask what your favorite thing about that game is.
Oh my god.
What is your favorite thing, or if it's easier for you to answer, what your favorite character is from the first game? Not knowing trying to ignore what comes later. Who is your favorite character in that first game, especially playing again recently?
Yeah. My favorite. There's so many goddamn great moments. I think my favorite thing is the run on Vermeer. Like you meet the Solarian team, right? And you're also in an environment that you hadn't been to before. So it's kind of tropical. You're running around in water. There's palm trees.
There's a lightning storm off on the ocean.
Yes. A brood, and it feels urgent, right? Yeah. Like there feels like I gotta get here fast because things are about to happen. Like everything else feels a bit. I'll get it. I'll when I get there, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna meander around for a bit, see what's under this rock. Ooh, hey, look, it's a new mod for my gun. Which is an odd place to put a mod for a gun. But the run up on Vermeer feels urgent. Like you land, you talk to Solarian team. Like there seems a sense of like impending doom and seriousness, and then when the captain makes his hold the line speech, oh man, I'm like,
I teared up playing it recently. And I remember it being impactful, but now knowing what I know, it's just a really powerful speech.
It got me the first time I saw it, and it gets me every time I see it, and also like the kerfuffle with Rex at that moment, this is at this point you had been playing anywhere between 15 to 20 hours of game before you even get to Vermeer. Yeah. And so you've talked to all your companions, you've gotten to know them, you've experienced some stuff, you've fought a giant killer plant, you've frozen your butt off and got killed by a 1,000-year-old woman. You know what I mean? And then there's a giant bug. Like, you've experienced some shit by the time you get to Vermeer, but it's completely different. Like, there's interactions with the characters you haven't had before. You have to pick a party. Someone has to leave to go do a thing. And like, wait, what? We're splitting up. What?
Never split the party.
Never split the party. And I remember the first time I did it, I actually had... I chose Caden and Ashley to go with me. Yeah. And one of them has to go. Yeah. And you don't get to choose again, which means you're doing that run with 2 people in your party.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it was fucking weird. So, then, it's just great. And then you start fighting more of the Krogan, and then you meet Saren for the first time
in person,
And then that's when like the oh shit hits the fan, and then like one of your characters dies depending on who you choose or where you go. And
you talked about doing your perfect playthrough. My first question about your perfect playthrough, is it to your, like, are you playing true to yourself? Are you playing the decisions you would make, or just the decisions you'd prefer to have?
No, the decision I would make.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing on the show. Yeah. So doing that, when you, on that perfect playthrough, who did you choose? Ashley or Caden?
Ashley.
Why?
Well, I don't know why. I think...
Really?
I think because I just never really... Caden never really spoke to me as a character. I felt that he was kind of bland.
So you chose...
But here's the thing. Playing it now, his story is actually far more complex.
We came through the same thing
than Ashley's.
Yeah, we found that
and
out too.
The thing is, I don't think I'm a learner. I think like 95% of people who play the game play Ashley for some reason.
Yeah.
And don't pick Caden.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a tremendous disservice.
Yeah.
We came to the same discovery
talk about
playing
this all the time.
So we were talking about playing true to our decisions, and so like when I first played the game, I was obviously bi then as well, but like I don't know that I was as comfortable and familiar with my sexuality as I am now.
Yeah.
And so I'm noticing things about Caden, things I like about his character that I find attractive that I never thought of in the first playthrough. And
exactly.
You can't really romance him in the first or second game. But like there are definitely hints of it there that I never noticed before.
Wait, you can't romance him in Mass Effect 1?
As a male, no.
Oh, as a male.
As a male.
Got it.
So but what's interesting to me now is we discovered the same thing you did about both characters, but especially for me, Caden. I always wrote him off as a piece of cardboard. I always said he was nothing. And this time around, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much depth to his character.
Yeah, he was part of the L2 project, which meant like he was taken from his family.
Yeah.
And he was put into a forced boarding school.
Yeah.
And then like joined the military because like if he didn't, he'd be a documented he has more freedom in the military than he would as a civilian.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, no,
it's
totally.
Very fucked up. And Caden is just so like unassuming because I think he feels he has to be unassuming. Like he has to be non-threatening.
Well, because in the moments when he was threatening or gave into his rage, he hurt people. And I think he's afraid of it now, which is something MJ pointed out that I didn't even really notice the first time through.
Yeah.
Like I always just said, oh, he's so boring and kept to himself.
No,
there was a reason.
No, the thing is he's not boring. He's closed off, which is different. Like he's guarded.
Yes.
That's very different than boring, which is a subtlety and a nuance that I just didn't pick up on when I was playing this 10 years ago. And a shame.
Yeah.
Like, because I think, and no disservice to Ashley, because I think Ashley also has a very fantastic, because she goes from being space racist to like, the savior of the fucking galaxy,
and learns from it too, and and doesn't make excuses for it. She acknowledges it and learns and grows. Yeah, and they're not oftentimes you see characters who are that narrow-minded that grow in that way.
Yeah,
which I think is really cool.
Well, they're also coming from like a very oppressive. Not oppressive, but like a military family, right?
Yeah.
So there was expectations and rules and order that, and her relationship with her sisters and her family is just very complex and nuanced.
Yeah, her relationship with her sisters is what influenced me to save her on Vermeer.
In this playthrough,
because I thought about those girls and how they looked up to their older sister Ashley.
Yeah.
And I couldn't take that away from them.
Aww.
And for me, like in my playthrough, I chose Caden because I felt my shepherd feeling close to him, but also like Ashley and I had been a lot crueler to Ashley because I was in a place mentally in our lovely country that we exist in right now where I didn't have a ton of patience for her narrow-minded view, but she did start to come out of it, and I did start to understand her more. But in the split-second decision, I went with my heart, and I was like, I like this guy, I have to save him. And it was really interesting to make that decision because in the past, it was usually Ashley that I chose.
And I think Ashley's probably the popular one than Caden is.
Yeah.
And when we go to the fan moment, we'll come back to this.
Okay. All right.
But I think Vermeer is the mission that, like, I played the game, and up until that point, I was like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. I'm shooting aliens in the face with my space laser gun. Which, thank God, they got rid of the overheating in the rest of the games. Oh, my God.
I was happy about that.
So if you had to pick something that you liked the least about the game, and you can't say the Mako because that's all I complain about.
I think the Mako's fun. It's like driving a hot air balloon. It's fucking amazing. Are you kidding me?
But what would be your least favorite thing about the first game?
The least favorite thing.
Is it the overheating and the weapon system?
I think it's the clunky mechanics. Yeah. I think they haven't aged well.
That's pretty general. I think what's interesting to me about this playthrough that we just did is for the first time I equipped the more powerful weapon of the one weapon I used the whole game, which was the shotgun in this case, but I didn't update anything else. I changed my armor when I remembered, and it didn't really hinder me, which makes the mechanics more frustrating.
Yeah. Because
I feel like. And that's part of why they dumbed it down, I think, in the second and third games, which I get for people who are gearheads and really love that nuance was a bummer. But for me, like, I didn't really care that much about upgrading to stuff. And because I was a biotic, I used my powers more than my gun, so at the end of the day, the guns didn't really matter that much.
Well, I guess here's another thing I don't like about Mass Effect 1 is the veritable fuck ton of stuff that it dumps into your inventory after every goddamn encounter.
Yeah.
Like...
Every time, it's like, you have 135 items. You should consider getting rid of things before you get to 150.
Like, literally, I just walked down this corridor. I just went from this door to this door. Where the fuck did I get all this shit from?
I trashed 100 things 5 minutes ago.
Well, I think also that wouldn't be as much a problem if we had, like, magical space bag of holding where it didn't matter. But the fact that we had an inventory limit and got so much stuff didn't make sense.
Is there an inventory limit in
this?
Yes,
if it maxes out.
150 items is the inventory limit?
Yeah, and if you either have to sell them or convert them to on
No, you're right. It's been a while.
Yeah, but I would agree.
Here's the thing. And I understand why they did it that way. So you don't have to fucking loot every goddamn body. It just kind of just dumps into your inventory. I get it. Like, it streamlined the process. But the problem is that you're still finding level 1 shit after, like, your level 30. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, I think there should be the algorithm, some sort of tick box should turn on, and, like, all level 1 stuff doesn't get found anymore. You know what I mean? Or automatically gets turned into gel or something. Like...
Oh, an auto gel feature would be perfect. Like, things
auto
of
gel,
this level.
all 1 level stuff.
Yeah.
I just... just every fucking time it's like, and I guess this is another thing I didn't particularly like, the menu screen, the amount of time I spend in menu screens is a little too much.
There's not a quick way to jump to certain things.
No.
There's not like press the start button to jump to this thing that you just got. You have to go through the menu, acknowledge that you read the thing, and especially for me at least.
And there's different levels too. Like you have to you can't just.
It doesn't tell you 5 of this item.
No.
Yeah.
It lists them out individually.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Well, that, and also, like, you can't even see, like, your gun mods or ammunition unless you're in the damn gun update menu. And it's like, really?
Yeah. You can't, there's not just a list of everything. And also, for me, I loved reading the codex the first 3 times I played the game. But at this point, it's now... So I don't know about you, but I can't
I've completely ignored it this time.
I can't. I can't have a flashing thing. I can't have notification buttons. Please. So I have to go in, and luckily there's an auto clear button.
Yes, there's an auto clear.
And so I could do that, but I literally, after every mission, I have to auto clear everything. My codex, my mission log... I can't do it.
I have seen it. Leave me alone.
I can't have unread emails. Can't have unread text messages. Like, I can't do it. But you completely ignored it this time?
I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm an adult. I don't have to... That flashing light doesn't affect me. I'm still a human being if that light is flashing.
It doesn't own you.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
But I think another thing that I really love are the weapons. I think the weapons sound great. Like, the weapon sounds have always, like, the shotgun feels massive when you pull the trigger. The assault rifles, like, feel like they're delivering a shit ton of payload.
Yeah.
It just, like, what Mass Effect 1 really gets right is the feel of it. Mm-hmm. Like, there are little parts here that are not great, and there are little parts that are, like, fucking fantastic. But as a whole, it feels right. It feels like you're accomplishing things. It feels like it makes you feel like a badass in the moments where that is important. Mm-hmm. Like when a fucking Krogan is charging at you, and you're down to, like, half life, and you're in a fucking oh shit moment, and you pause play, and then everybody attacks, and that guy fucking collapses right in front of you. Fuck yeah. That's amazing. And, like, he's running so fast, his momentum carries him forward a few more feet before he hits the ground. It's really good.
Some of my favorite moments, because I brought Caden a lot with me, is having another biotic on the field and having someone charge over me. Because they're coming at me, and he'll hit a lift as they're coming at me, and they just fly past me. Oh, there they go. That's always my favorite. Yeah, I would agree that the sound design and the music is some of the best in gaming.
Music is beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful. I'm in Pharos right now, and I had just left the Exogeny team, and I'm on my way to see the Thorian, and it gets real quiet, and there's just a little hint of music just in the background, and it gets eerie as fuck.
Yeah, when you first go back to where the Thorian is, there is nothing. Like, it's dead, and I literally, in that moment, went, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What's about to happen?
Yeah, because you're about to meet a whole lot of zombies, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
So for me, the characters are always what make the story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
At this table, who do we think is the best character from Mass Effect 1?
It's tough. So it's funny. My favorite character in the series was always Garrus. But replaying this time, I didn't realize how stunted Garrus is in the first game. He's brash. He doesn't want to really listen to reason until you bring him around towards the end. Like, I didn't quite realize how immature and bullheaded he was in the first game until going back.
Yeah.
I think my favorite... I mean, I found a new love for Kaidan as a character, like what we discussed, just knowing his backstory. But I think my favorite character in the first game, because he's the kind of character I know I could never be, is Rex. Yeah. I love the way Rex interacts with things around him, talks to you, and he comes out of his shell towards the end of the game, and like that, and interacting with him as much as you do on the ship, that moment on Vermeer is so terrifying. Yeah. Because you're like, I'm about to get killed by this Krogan. There's never, the thought wasn't for me to kill him, which was an option. It was always like, I'm going to get pounded into paste by this very angry Krogan. How am I going to stop this from happening?
I love them all.
Cop out answer.
No. I mean, I'm going to pick one.
Okay.
But I love them all, and for completely different reasons. And I think prior to this playthrough, I probably would have said Rex as well, because I think of all the characters, and maybe Ashley, depending on like my mood that morning, because I think Ashley makes the biggest turn as a character. Yeah. Of all of them, but I think it's Rex who finally like it's through him we learn about the genophage. It's through him we learn about his father's armor. Like it's through him that we hear about like, you know, the clan dispute with his father, right? Yeah. Like he's lived a fucking life, you know, and we learn about the Krogan through him, right? But this time around, it's Talia.
Oh,
Tali'Zorah.
Talia, like I never really considered her to be, or at least before Mass Effect 3, I never really considered her to be particularly important. Right. Right. Like, she was the MacGuffin that you needed to get the evidence against Saren. Right. And she isn't that even strong of a party member when you take her out on missions. Like, her armor is shit. And, like, she's got great tech stuff, but, like, until you get her all the way up, she's almost impossible to work with. But this time around, like, I really listened, and like her story, fucking incredible.
It's like, fascinating how she like literally is like, I'm going with you because I need to learn more. I need to like it's all in the face of education and betterment, and she's so positive, more positive than anyone else on that ship.
Oh yeah,
she's an idealist, and she wants to do the right thing, like no matter what, and that's why I have faith that the Quarian and Geth will work it out. Because of Tali. Tali's the one that will do it.
That's true.
I think it's through Tali that we learn about the nature of the Geth and how they were conceived. It's through Talia that we learn about the Quarians and the fact that she's actually like, you know, as we used to say in the Bronx, like the preacher's kid, right? Yeah. You know, she's like, she is the daughter of one of the admirals, you know, and the fact that she's out on her pilgrimage, and this is a society that's very enclosed by form and function, right? Yeah. And so for her to be out on her own and force herself into these situations because it's good for her, it's good for the Normandy, it's good for her people, you know, and she's bound and determined to find something worthy to bring back. Talia is, like, of this playthrough, my favorite.
Nice.
Talia is also my favorite of Mass Effect 1. She's so wholesome, and she's a good person, and, like, I want her to be my best friend. Yeah. I just love her.
Also, like, I just never gave her credit before, but she is fucking tough as nails.
Yeah. Like, she doesn't, like, you rescue her on that first mission, but the reality is she's holding her own. Like, you kind of just show up, but, like, she is capable of holding her own.
Right. Like, I must have played that scene outside of Cora's Den
so many times.
Like 24 times, right?
Yeah.
And never stopped to actually watch it.
Yeah.
She throws a fucking grenade down at her feet.
And just dives out of the way.
You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't toss it. Like, the bad guys are closing in on her. She tosses a grenade, and the blast is what separates her from the other ones. Yeah. Who does that?
Tali Zora Vas Normandy.
Fuck yes, she does.
Is she Vas Normandy yet?
No, she's not Vas Normandy yet.
She's
Naraya.
The Naraya. And like with knowing full well that could puncture her suit, knowing full well what that could do to her, like she's no fucking joke.
No. Yeah.
And then every time someone just calls her the Quarian, she's like, "I have a name."
Yeah. That was one of my favorite moments when you're talking to the Udina and Rex goes, "Well, the Quarian, blah blah blah." I have a name. Like, excuse you.
I think I didn't really pay much attention to her when I was playing the first times around. Yeah. Is it because she's covered up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's hard to connect.
Because there's no face.
There's no face to attach like any sort of expression or emotiveness, or it's like you're looking through a thing. But like knowing what I know, having played all the games and going back, is like, if she doesn't want to be in the suit, she has to, or she'll die.
Yeah.
You know, or get really fucking sick. Like, it's and the thing is, like, I think second and third games, like I have fallen in love with Talia in a way that's probably not healthy or reasonable.
I mean, she is romanceable.
Hell yeah, eventually.
Eventually, only in the third game?
In the third.
Oh, and the second game too.
No, she isn't. Wait.
Yes, she is.
Oh.
I have.
Yeah, that's right. Because I remember having a conversation with Liara on the Shadowbreaker ship about, Talia and I did a thing, but you and I should be a thing.
Yeah.
Trying to amend that bridge from the first game.
I will forever be salty that Tali is not bi, because she has this conversation with you, whether you're male shep or fem shep, where she says, there's no one that I would trust to link my suit to. Yeah. Well, no one that's Quarian anyway.
Yeah.
And like, she's talking about you. Yeah. And if you're femshep, you're supposed to take it as like, aw, you're my best friend.
Which but is I'm not like, what that means.
No, this is totally gay. Like, no, that's super gay. Why would you do this to me?
Yes, it is.
And then you can't respond as if it's gay. You're just like, aw.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
I know.
Yeah, that was the one thing that we discovered on this playthrough. Like, I remember these games being like the epitome of queer relationships, but the reality is it's only queer if you're femshep and you pursue Liara, which they don't really have a sex anyway, technically.
Right.
And
they are non-gendered.
It's just presentation. By the third game, they definitely expand more, and I know in the Dragon Age games there are a lot more options too. But it's just one of those things that thinking about back on it, going, "Oh yeah, it was super queer and forward thinking," and now replaying, I'm going,
"Well,
it's not.
It
really.
Was for the time.
Sure,
for the time.
You know, like it was pretty. I mean, maybe not revolutionary, but it was a bit controversial at the time.
It was. No, absolutely.
And I still maintain that romancing aliens is trying to embrace your queerness in a different way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's outside of what you consider the norm.
Right.
Yeah.
Or society's norm, because those norms don't really exist.
Exactly.
I forgot. Where are we questions-wise for our wonderful guest?
Do we want to talk about who we consider the best team to be?
Oh, yes. So, like, on missions, talking about the gameplay, who do you bring with you the most? Like, for me, this playthrough, I brought Caden and Garrus everywhere.
Because he fell in love with Caden.
Quiet. Aww. Until the third game, there's no real...
#kiss.
Yeah, right? And then they kiss. But so that was the team I brought. It was nice to have another biotic besides myself, and then Garrus is one of the more well-rounded Batman-esque characters in the game. He can kind of do a little of everything.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. One of the interesting things that Mass Effect 1 does that they don't really do in 2 or 3 is that they show you what you're like combat tech and biotic, right?
They show you the strength of your team.
Right. And so that determines whether or not you can open crates depending on the type of crate, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have enough tech, you can't hack anything. If you don't have enough, I guess, hacking, you can't, it locks off certain things because you don't have enough of it. Like you don't have enough electronics, or you don't have enough hacking, or you don't have enough something.
It was biotic, tech, and combat power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was also like abilities as well. Like,
yeah.
There was hacking and electronics, and it separates it into a couple of different things. When you're fucking doing QuickTime events to open up a fucking crate, which I didn't mind this time around. I'm like, oh, isn't that adorable?
Right, because you had some time away from it.
Exactly. My go-to team is and always will be Liara and Talia.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, and I went as an engineer, so I kind of had a little bit. So I had some combat and I had some tech.
Right.
So that means I can basically open anything.
Right.
Right. But I've got a strong ass biotic to like stop things in their track, and then I have 2 tech people to like fucking fuck up the geth.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the only caveat to that is that you can't do that when you're like a level 20. Like when you're a level 60, man, let me tell you, you can fuck it. Like nothing gets in your way.
Yeah, totally.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Everything turns into fucking goo with that team. But it takes a while to get there. You know what I mean? Like it's not easy to play that combo when you're low leveled, basically. You can do it, you'll just die a lot.
Yeah. What about your go-to team?
Garrison Tally.
Garrison Tally.
Yeah.
Because they're my best friends and I love them.
That's legit. You know, can't argue with that.
I do like bringing certain characters along for certain missions.
Right.
So that I did too. Like I brought Liara when I went to fight Benezia and stuff like that.
Rex is great to have on Vermeer.
Yeah.
You know, because he has a lot to say about the genophage and on the way to destroy the fucking Cure laboratory.
Yeah.
You know, it's so, yeah. Yeah. But I do love the combo of Talia, Liara, and I always played engineer. So I just found that combination to be really sort of a dynamic that works well together.
Awesome.
Who was your ideal love interest?
In just the first game, not
the
knowing the other 2 games.
I don't know. I always, like, Liara's the most interesting.
That's fair.
Hands down.
Yeah.
You know, romancing Ashley is great, and romancing Caden is also great, but Liara is infinitely more fascinating to romance. Because you don't really learn anything about the universe you're in by romancing Ashley or Caden.
Right.
You know, it's just another human soldier romancing another human soldier. So you learn about them, which is cool. But like Liara, you learn about Asari culture. You learn about their history. You learn about what makes her tick. Like it's infinitely more interesting. You know, and the fact because it's interspecies, it takes a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I just find it. I think both Ashley and Caden sort of like Chinese wall you because they're like, oh, you know,
We're military.
Oh, I'm shy or whatever the fuck. But like Liara, it's like this is too much. A human being, you know, you're like you're my. I don't know. Is that the first time she's ever connected?
She was a virgin.
Yeah. So like she's like unsure about what that's gonna mean.
Yeah.
So like
she has never had another partner.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me, so I didn't have any romance options this playthrough, and what's interesting to me about why I did that is because engaging with Liara now versus when I was younger is she seems a lot younger in a more recent playthrough because she is for her race. She's
like 18.
She's like 18, and so like there were just things I noticed about her character and her inexperience that I was like, oh, this feels a little weird as a male shepherd.
This feels predatory.
But that said, also with Ashley, like. The thing about Ashley is I started to warm up to her towards the end right before Vermeer, and if I had chosen her and had more time, I might have pursued it. But the fact that I leaned more towards Caden, who you can't romance in the first game, it just left me without romancing anybody. I think also because
that's also an option.
Right, and I think I'm also looking at it as a different my romance life now versus a decade ago is very different. And so I think that also might inform my decisions on why I chose who I chose.
Yeah.
Which was interesting for me. And so, I forget, did you pursue...
I shut Liara down because I had just made a decision between Ashley and Caden, and I decided to leave Kaden behind, and that sucked, and nobody was asking me how I was feeling, and she was like, let's have sex. I was like, no, I really don't want to.
That's something we noticed is after you do Vermeer, nobody asks if Shepard is okay. Nobody asks you.
Kind of don't want to just sleep with someone because I'm working.
No, I think who is it? It's Admiral Hackett?
Hackett? Yeah.
Like Admiral Hackett, I think mentioned something about that was a tough call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that's just it. I mean, he just basically says, tough break.
Yeah, like everyone just treats you as the hardened soldier that your backstory determines, and nobody asks if you're okay.
Well, it's not until like Mass Effect 3 that comes up again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, totally. Which I thought was interesting.
I thought that was a good use of that moment because it does get kind of glossed over in a very video gamey kind of way.
Yeah.
But the fact that they bring it back, I think it was a nice touch.
Yeah. Agree.
What else we got?
Has Mass Effect influenced your life in a more tangible way? Like Matt and I have this podcast.
I think it's sort of like I don't have sports, right? So like I can't walk into a place and make friends based on a common thing. But I can't think of anyone in my social circle who hasn't at least not heard of Mass Effect, but played it a billion times.
Right, yeah.
So it's the thing that people of a certain pop culture experience can talk about and argue about or like gush about.
Especially since everyone's experience is going to be so different based on their own personality if they follow it that way.
Exactly. Like my play of Mass Effect is not going to be your play of Mass Effect. And I don't think I've ever come across anyone
who's had like identical
choices along the way. Yeah. And I think that makes for great conversations about like, oh, mine was better, or oh my God, I'm so jealous you made that choice. Or because I mean I played it so many times. I played like Renegade a bunch just to see what the differences were, and it's such a lonely life. Yeah. And having like and talking to people who never played a Renegade, and like, oh my God, let me tell you. Yeah. Like nobody romances him at the end. Yeah. Like nobody comes to comfort him before the last run up to the final mission. Yeah. And it's just it's a good sort of like touchstone for, where were you when Mass Effect came out? But in terms of like actual tangible things, I think I don't know. Mass Effect was the first video game I played that made me think about video games differently. Mm-hmm. And so going into other video games, everything, this might not be the fair thing to say, but I compare everything I played to Mass Effect 1. Everything. Yeah. Good and or bad. You know what I mean? Because, I don't think Mass Effect is a flawless game, but I do think it is a great game. Yeah. And so everything I play is measured up against my experience of that. Did I have more or less fun playing this game? And it's kind of served me well because I think it's sort of informed not only my buying choices, but like games I'm like, I'm just not having fun. I don't need to finish this. I can just go back and play Mass Effect 1. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's sort of informed it's made me a smarter player.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
And in that made me sort of more of a smarter person, I guess. I don't know. Can I say that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
totally.
Is that a fair statement to make?
I think so.
I don't know. I might be pretentious.
Well, I think also
I'm sure someone will weigh in on that.
Along those lines, though, like Mass Effect is the first game that made me realize, oh, you can do this with video games. And I've been playing RPGs since the Super Nintendo, which have made you make great choices and great decisions, but like nothing made me engage in a world like Mass Effect did. Yeah. And other things have since, your Skyrims and Fallouts and all try and do a similar thing. But Mass Effect still is one of those games where it has delivered the most emotional responses. I keep teasing it, but nothing will ever compare to the opening moments of Mass Effect 2 in any game I ever play ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Especially when you waited till midnight to buy that game and then go home and that's what you come home to.
Yeah.
Like, which we'll talk when we do that episode, we'll talk more in detail. But like,
oh, bring me back. I have so much to say.
Well, our goal for the second season is to bring people on who have a favorite mission or character to talk about those character missions or those missions.
Sure.
So we'll definitely bring you back for that.
We'll do our deep dive and then we'll...
Oh no, I guess I'm going to have to play Mass Effect 2 again.
Oh no.
Oh no.
What a horrible problem to have.
Damn my life!
Well, normally we do Fandom Corner where I bring something onto the show that's like, look what I found. Look how great it is. This time I'm going to toss it over to Nelson and see what you have from the fandom. I
know how to make Mass Effect 1 better.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Mass Effect 2, like we just said, the Mass Effect 2's opening is incredible. It puts you right in the action, right from the second, and it doesn't fucking stop.
Nope.
And you can also argue that the opening of Mass Effect 3, same way.
Right.
Like, it thrusts you right into the action, and it's fucking nonstop from that point forward.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 1 is a bit of a slow burn because you're on the ship.
Yeah.
And you're talking with Joker, and you're talking with Kaidan, and then you walk down the corridor, and you talk with Jenkins.
Yeah.
Oh, rest in peace, Jenkins.
Oh, Jenkins.
Rest in peace. And you talk to the doctor, Dr. Jacques, before you talk to Nihilus. And spoiler alert, Jenkins dies before anything fucking happens. Which is really stupid because when I first played it, I opened up the menu and I gave him experience points.
Because you can actually level him up when you start the mission.
When you start the mission, you start with a certain amount of points.
Yeah.
Also, when you go back and replay it when you're level 30 and on your way to 60, you can give Jenkins...
You can max him out.
30 points of experience!
Yeah, you can max out all his trees, pretty much.
And he dies in the first fucking thing. The first thing he does is die before you do anything. And I think that's also why Kaidan is underutilized.
Right.
Throughout the game. Right. Because how we meet Ashley is fucking incredible.
Right.
You first see her on that vid, telling people to get down, shooting things. She's a fucking badass. And then when you meet her again, she's running while she's shooting.
Yeah.
And then you help her out, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. I lost my unit. And you're like, fuck this. Come with me. We're going to go do a thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Ashley's imprinted on us stronger than Kaidan.
Right.
Yeah, because Kaidan is just
he's kind of there.
He's just kind of there. And Jenkins is fucking forgotten.
Yeah.
So
not by us.
Not by us.
So here's my solution. Kaidan is not on the ship. Kaidan is one of Ashley's platoon people. So who you're talking to the entire time is Jenkins. Right? So he's on the bridge with you. You're talking with him and Joker. You head down oh God, what's the captain's name?
Captain Anderson.
Thank you. Captain Anderson. So Captain Anderson calls you and Jenkins to the ready room, right? So then you go down, the both of you talk to Dr. Chakwas. He still has all the thing about, I'm ready for action, right? Yeah. You do all that stuff. You go in, you talk to Nihilus. It's a conversation between you, Jenkins, and Nihilus, right? Where Nihilus reveals that he's looking at you to be a Spectre. Jenkins like, oh my God, yeah, you'd make a great fucking Spectre, right? So you're establishing a friendship, you're establishing a history with Jenkins, right? You get down to the planet, and then some other random soldier, who cares, because he's going to die soon anyway.
Right.
Right? Then you go in, and and then Jenkins dies.
Right.
Where he's supposed to.
Right.
Okay.
But it's more meaningful because you've had
a
whole conversation, history, talking with Nihilus, and then you're like, fuck. And so then now you're on the run-up by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's not long before you bump into them. So it's only a few of them. So you're going to do more cover. And that's where the tutorial happens, right? You hide in cover. Yeah. You can use your powers here, right? Which they don't really do much of. There isn't a tutorial about how to do anything. You just kind of have to play as you go.
Yeah.
So it tells you, open the reticle, choose a power, do the thing. You finally run up, and then both Kaidan and Ashley are running from the death, firing as they go. You run up and you save both their lives. You have the conversation when you meet the both of them. Equal footing. Right? Ashley is the career military, her family going way back. Kaidan is the L2, you know what I mean, who just wants to have a quiet military life and is just fucking bamboozled by all of this. The both of you run up. You save if you're a male, you save Ashley. If you're a female, you save Kaidan. Yeah. And then it takes you, and then all three of you have this brand new experience. All of you come back to the ship. And now they are your squad before you meet anybody else. They're your squad before you meet Garrus. They're your squad before you meet Garrus. So you care about them both in the same way.
Interesting.
That way, when you have to make the choice for someone to stay behind and die, it's more impactful.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah.
If you can find yourself a coder to make that patch, I would definitely download it.
I'd read this fanfic.
I would read this fanfic. Well, because you're right. Like, the reality is there's a lot of pressure on Shepard in the first moments of the game. But there's almost no, like telling, whatever you say to Jenkins, whether you tell him to chill out or you tell him to embrace that.
There's no consequence.
There really isn't, because he just falls over a few minutes later. I like that idea. That is the one thing I think that the second and third game do better than the first game, is build relationships.
Yeah.
The first game builds relationships okay, but it's in the second game where you really get a sense of what drives all these characters, especially considering Redacted happens in the beginning. When you reconnect with all of them, a lot of them become different people at that point.
Yeah. And the loyalty missions help too, because that helps you to develop a deeper understanding.
Like there are two loyalty missions sort of in the first game. The one with Garrus to go after that doctor who is growing, and then the one with Rex for the armor.
You get the armor, the grandfather's armor.
But you don't I didn't do either of those missions on my playthrough because you don't have to.
No.
And if you don't look for them, you won't find them.
Yeah.
And so I think your created opening to the game sets a runway for making you look for more of that stuff later too.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it can also be more dire on the way up, right? Yeah. So you lose Faceless Soldier at the first salvo.
Yeah.
Then it's just you and Jenkins for a little while, right? And then maybe another scene about, we need to contact the ship. We need to get out of here. And maybe there's you're jammed. You can't do anything. And so the two of you run up, and then Jenkins dies, and like, oh shit, I'm by myself. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And then and then you keep going, and then that's when you meet the two, and then fucking super team happens, right? And then you start mowing them through like nobody's fucking business. I think the part of the problem is that I didn't care about Kaidan until it was time to care about Kaidan.
Right. Until you actually have moments with him on the ship way after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then the two of them come aboard. So now you have to greet them, right? Or you could even choose not to choose maybe it's another sort of binary choice. Like, Ashley, I'm going to need you. Kaidan, I'm not going to need you.
Right.
Like if you want to play Renegade or something.
Yeah.
But I think I didn't know I needed to care about Kaidan until it was time to care about Kaidan.
Right.
Yeah.
That's legit. I like that.
Yeah.
Kaidan deserves better.
He does.
He really does.
Yeah, and I think it also would have given a good tutorial, like a first tutorial round by yourself.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I really loved about Mass Effect 3, there was one of the DLC, there's a whole mission you play by yourself.
Yeah.
Also, I think in Mass Effect 2, I think there's a mission you can you don't have companions in a mission, and those are some of my favorite.
You're right.
Because they were tense, they were filled with all kinds of danger and peril.
Well, and you feel the most desperate then because you're so used to having a party with you.
Exactly, and there's and then one of the DLCs in the third one, you don't even have armor on, you just have a pistol.
Yeah.
You have a pistol and your abilities, and that's it. Yeah. And it's really good, and everybody fighting you has armor and better weapons.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool.
Well, yeah, that's my favorite thing about the combat opening of 2 is that it's you, and then you meet up with Jacob, but you're literally you have nothing.
Yeah.
In those first moments.
So that's my little fan theory, my fan wish.
Yeah.
My fan
So if anyone listening to the show is great at creating mods, create that mod for the PC. Do it. So at least I can experience it.
And you know what? How about a little more fucking respect for Jenkins?
Right.
The first fall in this conflict.
The first casualty. We talk about that on that first episode.
Yeah.
We did a moment of silence for Jenkins.
Yeah.
Jenkins.
Because people just write him off and forget about him.
I hardly knew you. Literally.
Well, on that note, do we want to play a little game?
Yes, let's play our game.
What's this game? Tell me about the game.
Okay, so we're going to play Who Said That?
Oh, okay.
Quotes are submitted to us by listeners, by our friends, with no accreditation. We have no idea who said this quote.
Okay.
We're going to share the quote. Some people have sent
Are they limited to a particular game? Are these like
Yes,
Mass
these
Effect
are all
1?
Mass Effect 1.
Okay.
Specifically Mass Effect 1, because that's all we have discussed on the podcast so
Fair
far.
Fair enough.
Some people have sent in audio clips, which we have, and they'll be edited into the show.
Great.
The first quote is from friend of the pod, Rob Starobin. Did I say his name right?
I believe so.
Okay, great.
I've always pronounced it Starobin, but...
You know, that's all right.
That's all right.
The Star Robin.
The Star Robin, yes.
Exactly.
Okay. The first quote is...
Secrets are like herpes. If you got them, you might as well spread them around.
Who do we think said
That's
it?
such a great line.
That is a great line. I think...
Ooh, that's deep cut, too.
Yeah, I think it is, too.
I think... So I am going to guess Ashley.
I don't think Ashley would say this.
I'm going to guess Rex.
Okay.
I think it's Rex. It sounds like something Rex would say.
Yeah. I think Rex would say it, too.
Okay.
I'm going to concur and say that it was Rex.
Do you have the means to look it up?
I already did.
Okay. And the winner is...
Harkin, actually.
Admiral Harkin.
Oh,
no,
He's
not...
not Admiral. Stop giving him titles he
title.
doesn't deserve. Harkin said it.
The guy at the...
You want to know
the guy
why I
at
didn't
Cora's
know this?
Cora's Den, right?
Yes. I didn't know this because I didn't talk to Harkin.
Oh, right. You can circumvent him.
Yeah.
Oh, now I know where it is.
He's the drunk in Cora's Den.
Yeah.
Yes.
Harkin said it.
Yes. He's on like administrative leave from CSEC because he's a fucking fuck up.
Well, because he's one of the sources of corruption within
Yes.
CSEC.
Okay. All right. Good,
Okay.
good one, Rob. All right.
Good one. I honestly did not know. I mean, I recognize it as a line, but like I would never have gotten it.
If you didn't tell me it was from Mass Effect, I might not have known.
Exactly.
Like, that sounds like just something someone would say.
Yes.
It sounds like something Arya would say in 2.
That's true
why I was
also,
like,
yeah.
That's
Are we
also
sure this is one? Yeah. Okay. Second quote was submitted by my good friend, Nick Rosa. One will freeze your balls off. The other will sell them out from underneath you.
Oh, I know where it's from. It's from the first planet you go to. Well, you can go to. I know who it's about, but I don't know who said it. Oh, I do know. It's Joker.
Matt says Joker. Nelson?
It's either Joker or someone else, but I think it's Joker.
Give me a second. Trying to think who else would it be. No, I think you're right. I think it's Joker.
I agree that it's
Yeah.
Joker, and it is Joker.
Yay!
I need to look it up because we had a whole conversation about it, and also I posted it on our Instagram.
Yes.
So I know that it was Joker.
It's once you get back to the ship after doing all your nonsense on which planet was it?
Novaria.
Novaria. He talks about it's his discussion
What's
about
worse, the cold or the bureaucrats?
or the bureaucrats. Yeah.
Yes.
Joker. I will say that I'm so glad that Joker gets more character development in 2 and 3 because he's so great in 1, but I forgot how limited your conversation is with him in 1. Like, he gives you a clip after every mission in the cockpit, and then you can dive into his backstory about his little bone.
Yes.
But that's it. You don't get more than that. And in 2 and 3, you get a lot more, which I'm very happy about. Also, like, I'm a fan. Like, Seth Green is a voice actor who has a Hollywood career who also puts so much work into his voice acting.
Yes.
Not that no Hollywood actor does, but a lot of Hollywood actors are themselves in movies, and that's fine. But even though he doesn't always change his voice, his characters take on their own life when he voices them.
There's a moment when, and he does it every single time in Mass Effect 1, when after you speak to him, if you want to speak to him again, I think Shepard said something along the lines of like, I gotta go. Yeah. And he always says, all right, see ya. Yeah. But he does it in a way like, I don't care. Just
There's
fucking leave.
So much
why are
you
you telling me you're leaving?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much in that one line. It's like, it gets me every time. It's like, all right, good, okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay, weirdo. Like, you gonna tell me when you go to the bathroom too? Like, it's such a great little moment that he has there. And the line is delivered so eloquently.
Yeah. No, I very much am a fan of Joker. Of the characters that you don't get to, like, have in your party, he's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
The others grow as well, like Dr. Chakwas in the later games.
Dr. Chakwas is my favorite non-party member character.
She is pretty great.
She's my great. If I could romance her, I would.
She is the mom, not mom.
Seriously, hell the fuck yeah. She is a beautiful woman, smart, capable, cares.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know what I mean? Doesn't take any of fucking Shepard's shit.
That is definitely
You know
true,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
What I like about Dr. Chakwas is she's just very supportive, and I wish she was my mom.
That's
Are you
cute.
kidding me? In Mass Effect 2, where you get drunk off of ice brandy?
Yeah,
that was a good
it's such a
scene.
great moment.
Shit,
that
I
they
would've-
didn't have to have.
If I could have had the option to kiss her, then we would have made out on one of the medical tables. Fuck yes.
I really wish that in the Citadel DLC you could have had a moment with her.
Oh, yeah,
That
you
would've
don't
been
get a
cute.
moment with Doctor, do you?
Yeah,
No.
3 is also going to be interesting because I haven't played all the DLC on 3, and so I haven't done the Citadel
The
DLC.
DLC for 3 is amazing.
And that's what I've heard. Although I love like the Shadow Broker DLC in the second game is like the pinnacle for me.
Jesus Christ.
Because it's the first time in that game where you feel like you have a boss fight. Like, there are boss fights, but, like, fighting the Shadow Broker is a highlight for me in that second game. Because that mission is just... Also, there's so much leading up to that moment with the Shadow Broker where you're like, who is this thing? And then, like, that's one of my favorites in the second. Anyway.
Wait, no, that's the third. Shadow Broker's...
Shadow Broker
Shadow
DLC
Broker
is
is
2.
2.
Yeah, you go after the Shadow Broker in 2.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know. It all bleeds
It
together.
all bleeds together for me. It's hard to, like, distinguish what happened when.
Yeah. It's also like it's a tribute to the narrative and how invested you are in the characters that it all bleeds together. It all feels like one giant story.
It does feel like one giant story. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We have one more quote.
One more quote.
All right.
Is it madness to see the future? To see the destruction rushing toward us? To understand there is no escape? No hope? No, I am not mad. I'm the only sane one left.
Oh, I know exactly who this is.
This was submitted by Doorknobs.
I know exactly who this is.
I
God,
know.
what's his name? Fuck, hold on. It's in the very first mission. And it's the two scientists you meet. If you get your quick time right,
Yeah.
because you don't get a second chance. If you get your quick time right, you can open the door and talk to two, and one of them is kind of losing it, and his name is Emmanuel or
yes.
Ishmael
we talked
or
about mental illness.
Could we talk about this because he is clearly having a psychotic break,
Yes.
and the other doctor's like, "Oh, just take your medicine," and it really does a disservice to mental illness. And we talked about that at length, but I can't remember that character's name.
it's something. It's a Spanish sounding name, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is.
So we all know the guy.
We all know the guy, so I mean, we're getting the fucking point. Whatever, if there are points.
Do we want the answer?
Yes.
The answer is Dr. Manuel.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you were right.
Yes.
I'd give you the point. Yeah,
Yes.
you're right. Yeah, because we had on that was the first episode we did. We talk about how poorly this game treats mental illness in that moment because
Yeah.
he's clearly just having a psychotic break from seeing all the crazy stuff that happened, and his partner
Well-
just goes, "Oh, you'll be fine. You're
Well,
off
but
your
it's
meds."
also like a thing he does a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it also speaks to. It's like just take, like you've done.
There's
this.
a lot of angles, but it did feel very dismissive, and it was very interesting to engage in
Well,
that.
I mean,
yeah.
one of the things you can do is Shepard's punch him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Which was
It's
fine.
implied that he is autistic,
Yeah.
but it is done not great.
Yeah,
No,
like
no,
you get the sense. Yeah, it's just not delivered in a way that in the later games they would have handled much better.
right? Yeah. Particularly with like the Overlord DLC,
Yeah.
which is handled really well.
We can't. No,
No,
I
we
can't
can't.
talk
We
about
can't go there.
Overlord.
We can't go there.
I can't go there. Well, it's funny because we talked about an AI moment that I missed in this game, and I was like, oh yeah, but that's not Overlord. Which, that DLC. I believe you that the third game's DLC is really good, but when we talk about Overlord and Shadow Broker and some of the others, like those are so powerful.
They're epic.
Yeah,
They're
and
very,
so
very
like,
epic, yeah.
so I'm actually very
The run up to find the Leviathan
Yeah.
DLC is.
Like, and so that's why I'm excited to play.
Really good.
I'm excited to get into the third game because I haven't played any of that DLC, so I'll get to live moments like that again, which
Yeah.
I haven't felt since the second game.
Yeah.
All right, is that done for are we
Yep.
done with quotes?
Yep. We did okay.
We did okay. Yeah. And I don't claim that my memory is very good on the show. As people know, I forget things all the time on the show. So, I'll, as I can continue to confuse Harkin with Admiral Hackett for no reason. For no reason. But I do it. I've done it at least 3 times now up into this point.
Fair enough.
Which
Harkin
is fine.
does not deserve that.
No, he doesn't.
No,
Admiral
he does
Hackett
not.
is way cooler and way better.
Yeah.
All right, are we on to reading a review of the podcast? If you would like to have your review read on the show, please write us one on iTunes, on our Facebook page, anywhere that people can see it, and it will help our visibility as a podcast, because we love hearing from all you lovely listeners.
Absolutely. And if you're listening to this podcast and I'm the problem, feel free to say so.
Yeah, because...
then we'll know to never have him back.
Exactly.
Right, which won't happen anyway.
Okay. We do have a review from canned_ham. It was on our Apple Podcasts. It is a fun look at an old favorite. A great detailed discussion of one of my favorite games. Of one of my favorite game series ever.
Oh, wow.
Very important distinction.
Right. Absolutely. I agree.
I was hooked after one episode and then binged the entire first game's worth of episodes in a day to get caught up, so I can be ready to jump in and start playing along once they get to number 2. I think this is someone that you met at MagFest.
It might be. So I met, if it is who I think it is, but I was very lucky. So for those who don't know, a little quick aside, I did get to go to MagFest 2019. It was my first MagFest, which was, like, I don't know how I went this long without going. I think it's just because I thought it was further away than it was.
Oh, sure.
But, yes. And so I met... the fun thing about going to MagFest with a Mass Effect podcast in your back pocket is every Shepard cosplayer you see. Like, I saw some gentleman wearing the full Shepard armor, and I went, "You look like a guy who would like our podcast. Here's a sticker." But like any N7 jacket or N7 hoodie, I just handed it out, and it was really cool. But I met quite a few people at MagFest, and my favorite thing about Mass Effect at MagFest is both the game and the music, as it is the Music and Gaming Festival, are both incredible to talk about, and I talked at length with many people about both things.
Oh, sweet.
The gameplay and the music. It was a blast. I'm hoping for Reignite to appear there in a more official capacity in 2020, but I met a ton of really great people. I got to see a ton of great music, some of mine and Nelson's mutual friends and faves there, although Nelson couldn't be there. And one person at least cared.
Nelson. I wasn't there either.
I cried. I cried a single tear.
You did.
I did.
But someone did have a sign asking where you were.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
Yeah. One person cares.
Yeah.
Literally
one person. Literally one person, as no one else brought a sign.
Yeah. Literally only one person cares.
I like to.
That's my life. Thank you.
I like to point out that Matt didn't have a sign.
He was there. He didn't need a sign.
No, I mean Matt didn't have a sign for you.
Yeah, I didn't bring a Where's Lugo sign.
Oh, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you in this pod. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to you. Hey.
Hey, Nelson.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah?
But MagFest...
Stop talking!
MagFest was a blast, and I'm hoping to go again next year. The network that we're on, Certain Point of View, which has a multitude of podcasts, hopes to be there in a more official capacity other than wandering the floor, so that would be a lot of fun. And maybe Nelson will be there next year.
I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
It takes so much work.
Well, Schaefer can't afford me. That's really what the bottom line now.
No, if you want to know more about what we're talking about, you can listen to, as of when we release this, the most recent episode of the Epic Podcast, where both of you discuss MagFest.
Yes.
And that he can't take you because he can't afford it. Which is a conversation you have on the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas you keep insisting that you would have done it for free, and he's like, no, I have to pay you, and I can't afford you.
I know, he's weird that way.
I know, I get it. There's respect to that. Respect to Schaefer the Dark Lord, even though he hasn't played Mass Effect.
If you have no idea what you're talking about, please go get all caught up at the Epic Podcast, which you will find on either Apple Podcast or nerdyshow.com.
Yes, nerdyshow.com, which, like Certain Point of View, has a ton of nerdy podcasts about all sorts of different stuff.
That's right.
Like, the library is huge.
Huge.
They've been around for a while. They're Orlando-based, right?
For the most part,
For the most part. And so, because it's a lot of it's sponsored by a comic shop, which is based out of Orlando. And so, definitely go check out nerdyshow.com. I highly recommend the Epic Podcast if you want to listen to 2 to 3 people, depending on the timeline, be curmudgeons on the air and talk about things and complain.
True.
Yeah, especially the later episodes.
True.
There's a lot of complaining. But,
meanwhile, our network is working on a new updated website that I am trying to fix up.
Nice.
So be on the lookout for a Certain Point of View's updated website.
Yep, and you can catch all our podcasts there. We're not going to plug them individually this time, but you can find everything there. Also, if you go to the Reignite Facebook page, you can find our Discord server, where we have channels for every show on the network, where you can discuss the episodes you've listened to, suggest guests, recommend topics, all sorts of stuff.
Don't forget that in March, Dark Side of the Con is happening in Parsippany.
Yes.
$75 for a 3-day VIP pass. That's not that much. And you can see Matt and I there doing a live show about vampires.
Yes, we're doing an episode of Reignite on the Dawnguard DLC from Skyrim and the choices you make to be a vampire or to fight vampires.
Oh.
Because at the end
on a Mass Effect podcast?
So
Well, okay. So Reignite starts with Mass Effect, but we're not going to stay with Mass Effect forever.
we're eventually going to run out of those games.
Traitors!
We're eventually going to run out of games.
Fuck you! You do 3 years worth of podcast and then you end!
4. Andromeda.
True, that's true. That's true. You do 4 years of podcast and then that's it. You're done. Fuck you.
But we were gonna do Dragon Age next.
I'm totally in.
Yeah. So our thought is like we want to talk about narrative driving games like the Mass Effect series, even though we're starting with Mass Effect. And so our idea to be goth enough for Dark Side of the Con is to do vampires, because a lot of games have vampires. And
Goth enough?
Goth enough.
If you say the word goth enough, then you're never ever going to be goth enough.
No, that's for sure. But we are very excited to do the Dawnguard DLC because there are a lot of choices and a lot of different paths that you can take. And so we're going to be talking about that at Dark Side of the Con if you'd like to see us in person.
We'll also talk about other vampire games as well, including one that I found on Apple. I lost my train of thought.
The Apple Store?
Yeah, the Apple Store. It is a choices game called Interview with the Vampire, and it's really dumb, and I kind of love it. It's really
and for those who don't know, Choices is an app that's like narrative driven, like kind of choose your own adventure.
Yeah, choose your own adventure.
Text-based adventures on the
Matt
phone.
has his experience, which is like Castlevania and other stuff like that. I have my experience, which is like dumb shit.
That's fair.
Oh, no.
It's not that dumb.
No.
I mean, I know my wheelhouse.
Let's be fair. This is all dumb shit. All
That's
of
true.
it.
At the end of the day.
Every last fucking thing. It's all fucking dumb shit.
That's true.
Please join our Discord. We're there all the time. We love talking to people. We have a nice little group of friends, and everybody's really supportive and kind.
Yep.
We are all over social media. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on Tumblr. All Reignite Pod across the board.
Yes.
Also email us, reignitepod@gmail.com.
Yes, we didn't mention before, if you would like us to read your quote that you've chosen from the first game, and soon to be the second game, but not quite yet, send that to our email, reignitepod@gmail.com, or you can message us online on any of the social media. Just don't tell us the answer like some people, because then we can't use it, because then we know the answer. We love you.
Point.
Yeah, it does defeat the point. Or I'm playing by myself as the one person who knows the answer has to read the quote, which has been MJ in the past.
Yeah. I'd like to play too.
So, we have a sign off for the podcast, which I'd love for you to do, Mr. Nelson Lugo.
Is it Andromeda is great? Fight me?
It can be. That can be your sign off.
That's going to be my sign off when we get to Andromeda.
Well, that's fair. But we usually say that this is our favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. That or we
you
should.
fucking goobers.
Yeah. You love it.
Do I?
I don't know. So.
You're giving me the fucking sheep eyes. Don't give me the fucking sheep eyes. I'm going to do it.
Definitely more cursing on this episode than we've ever had before.
We're earning that explicit tag.
We definitely are. We definitely are.
Yeah. If you don't play Mass Effect, fuck you!
Thanks, Nelson. I, of course, have been your host, Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
I've been MJ.
And I've been Nelson Lugo, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.